My name is David Penn, and you're watching Magicians Talking Magic. Do you need me to do that again with a pizza in my hand?
Do you have one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm David Penn, and you're watching Magicians Talking Magic.
I'll just make eggs.
Welcome to the Magician's Pizza Party. My name is Ryan Joyce. It's Thursday. That means it's pizza day. We're so glad you're here. I hope you've got your pizza. Mine's fresh out of the oven. In fact, half of it is on the bottom of the oven. This is...
My name is Grimazing, and I have some pizza right here. Ooh, delicious. I'm excited to dive right in. And I can't believe everyone's tuned in again for this is our second pizza party. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our fun event.
And we have a very special guest joining us here today, all the way from Austin, Texas. He has been in the industry for so many years. He has so much wisdom. He has so much to offer. The very own Nick Lewin is with us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining. You know, last week we had Greg Fruin.
But I've had many pizza parties before.
What? Oh well, does pizza bring you a source of happiness?
Of course it does.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not just doing this technically. I have my pizza right here.
Yes. Oh, good. I gotta get mine. Mine literally just popped out of the oven. It's cooling down. Yeah. We're gonna find out what's on your pizza in a little bit because we've got some guesses. We've got special guests that are going to be included on the pizza party tonight. We're going to share them with you in a minute. They've made guesses, Nick, what they think is on your pizza.
On my actual pizza, or what my favorite pizza toppings are.
Ooh.
Oh well, you can
big difference.
If you want, it's your call.
You know what? I feel like one is value. I think if they know what your favorite pizza is, that's 100 points. If they guess what's on your pizza tonight, that's 50 points. How about that?
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Should we go into the first video guess?
Well, let's do that.
Okay, this one is David Penn.
I think it was 1994. I went to Vegas for one of the first time, and he was doing a show somewhere, and I actually saw him do his show with the multiplying bottles, the 20 blinking finger rings from the audience. I saw him do his full set in it was a very small, intimate showroom, but it was great. It was a fantastic show.
Do you have any guesses what would be on Nick Lewin's pizza?
I think Nick Lewin is a mighty meaty kind of guy.
His guess was a mighty meaty pizza. That was his guess. So that's guess number one.
That's number one.
David Penn. Good guess. We'll find out. We've got Kyle and Misty we spoke with earlier today, right before taping, and we got a chance to ask them what they thought your pizza was going to be about. And I asked them about if a rendezvous they had with you in Barbados.
In Barbados, it was us and Nick and Gary Arbuthnot. All of us were on different ships, and we were all debarking in Barbados. And fortunately, we had lounge access, so we got everybody in, and we were just drinking. And because we kept leaving to do our flight, and then we'd get canceled again, and we'd go back to the lounge. So we ended up spending pretty much the whole day there. And then we finally made it to Miami and had to stay overnight there in a hotel. But yeah, we had a nice little entertainer meeting.
What do you think Nick Lewin has on his pizza?
Oh gosh.
He better not be one of those people that put the pineapples on it.
Thank you. Right? I am with you on that 100%.
He just looks like a pepperoni guy. I'm just sorry, just a
I
break.
could see him putting like Supreme to do. I could see him doing that.
2 solid guesses. We got a supreme pizza and a pepperoni pizza. We'll find out very soon. We have 2 other guests.
We have 2 more guesses. We spoke to 2 other people today. They also both know you. We spoke to Wes Barker and Chris Mayhew. Toronto connection here, more Canadian connection, and they both had valid guesses. We're gonna run those really quick right now. If you could guess what Nick Lewin would eat on his pizza, what would you guess?
If I could guess what Nick would eat on his pizza, we'll go with some pepperoni, like classic pepperoni. You gotta have some pepperoni on there. Mushrooms, peppers, and is he a vegetarian actually? Did I get it wrong right off the bat? Was I just like pepperoni's like he's vegetarian? Oh, well, I got it wrong. Because he might be a vegetarian. I don't know. He could be. We're gonna go all veggies. I'm just gonna assume that Nick is now a vegetarian, and we're gonna say green peppers, mushrooms, onions, tomatoes, obviously, and yeah.
Can you guess what's on Nick Lewin's pizza?
How many? Is it just one topping that I gotta guess?
I don't even know.
Oh shit! What's on Nick Lewin? Okay, it's gonna be pepperoni and mushroom.
Pepperoni and mushroom?
100%.
2 solid guesses right there. So that was Chris Mayhew thinking all vegetarian, and Wes Barker thinks pepperoni mushroom. Nick, you are the only one that has 2 answers. What kind of pizza are you eating tonight, and what is your favorite kind of pizza?
Well, that's easy. Vegetarian, never. I'm English. If I could have had like sausage and bangers and mash on it, I would have done. But tonight it was a home run in pizza from Chicago. So it had fennel sausage, it had peppers, and we added garlic to it because the joy of socially isolating, you need all the garlic you want. So that's the one I'm eating. But my real choice, I can't believe somebody, indeed everyone seems to be saying they don't like pineapple.
Pineapple, no way.
Oh, my favorite one is pineapple, onion, bacon, and ham.
Ooh, like a good Hawaiian pizza.
Absolutely. That's my absolute number one.
I'm with you
let
on
us know
that.
in the comments what you guys think about the pizza choices, and let us know what you're eating in the comments. We'd love to know what we got in the comments. Also, just a little reminder before we go too much further in the interview, make sure, folks, you take out your phone if you got another browser or a tablet and open that up to magicianmasterclass.com/play, because we're going to do some trivia, and we're going to start here pretty soon, and we want you to follow along with us and Nick. And so make sure to pull out those devices. We'll give you a second to do so, and you're going to change that on over to magicianmasterclass.com/play. So I got a chance to see you in Vegas. I've seen you perform in conventions. You have probably the most diverse resume of any magician that I know. You've TV, writing, you even did illusions, which we'll touch on in a bit. Where among all of that, comedy seems to be in the center of it. Have you always had comedy in the thread?
Well, when I very first started doing magic, I did like a manipulative act. I did the old Ron McMillan billiard ball act, where you had 14 billiard balls stuck between your fingers to your nose to the face. I did that, but that was in the old days. That's when I thought every time I did a show, I had a big table and I put every prop I owned on it because I thought it looked good. And then I fined down and I realized comedy, we had some great comedy magicians in England. Tommy Cooper was on the scene, David Nixon. And I was lucky enough from a very early age, from about 14 onwards, my mentor was Ken Brook and Billy McCombs. So when you've got guys like that who are teaching you, you go, well, I think comedy magic is the way to go. I've never regretted it. I've done everything else. So I've done illusions, full scale grand illusions.
And you're a writer as well. And that's where we want to start with our trivia of the day. So make sure everybody pop over your phones. Here's the link that you can go to. I'm super curious to test everybody. So follow along in your browsers. Here's the first little trivia question we're going to ask with Nick Lewin. Written in 1976, Nick Lewin's first book was a magic book, fiction book, recipe book, or a comic book? Make your selection now on the screen in front of you. Make sure to enter into the trivia, and you'll be faced with those buttons. Select those now. We're real curious. Make your choice. Let's find out the answer. The answer is fiction.
Yeah.
Fiction.
That's right.
Tell us about that.
Well, it was, I was playing the old Magic Cellar back in '78, which was a great little club in San Francisco. It was like a miniature one. And that's, the owner there was a kind of a magic buff, but the upstairs was Earthquake Magoons. It was a jazz club. And they decided to expand, and then they bought a garage. And when somebody backed a car through the back wall, and they discovered there was a hollow passage, and that's where all the Carter collection was. So it was the first time anyone had seen it. The posters, the handbills, his personal everything, and that kind of inspired Cedric Clute. He was my cohort, and we came up with the book. He came up with the book, and I worked with him on it, called Sleight of Crime. And it was all magician detectives. There was some old stories, some funny stories, but everyone had a magician either as the villain or as the detective. And we illustrated, it was the first time anyone had seen any of the Carter posters. And it was great. It was a magic book. It was a fiction book. It was also a cooking book. It was a recipe for financial disaster, because we made no money on it at all. I had gone to several editions. And indeed, Cedric gave me a bunch of Carter posters. I thought he was being very mean, because he had about a 6-foot stack of these handbills. He said, well, here's 12 of them. And I gave them all away. And then afterwards, I realized what they were worth. And that would have been the only chance of breaking even on the proceedings with the book. What it wasn't was a comic book. That's what it definitely wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder what that would look like. Well, humor, as you know, we were talking about. I mean, you are so funny, and it's been. I mean, like, we've got a little clip that we want to share with some of our viewers. It's just literally like 2 sound bites, and in those sound bites, you'll capture their hearts. Watch this.
Would you shout out the full name of the card that you're concentrating upon? Jack. The Jack. The Jack of Spades. Wrong. I'm not really going to do it. I'm just going to create the illusion of tearing it in half. Or half, as you say. We invented the language, you just screwed it up. Thank you very much.
And the little, I don't know if we showed it, but the kick on the end with the stool and that is just like the best ending.
That was how Ken Brook ended his act. And it was a really funny bit. And I've done it ever since, because I get to walk on stage, no props on stage, and walk off, no props left on stage. So that's the way I like to do it. I'm incredibly tidy as a performer. I work the ships a lot, and the one argument you always heard about magicians from the tech people, magicians are so messy. That's because they all did the snowstorm on the ships and various other things. So I decided I was going to make it a little different. I was going to be as tidy as I possibly could. And I like it. Mind you, my magic room upstairs is not tidy, but when I'm performing, it's kind of anal retentive, to say the least. But English, well, I'm not even English anymore. I became an American citizen a year ago.
So, wow, yeah, that's
a little bit different now.
And you've been in Austin for several years, but you've bounced back between obviously Vegas all the time because you.
Well, that's right. I go out there. I still have been filling in for Matt King out there. The show that I did that people mostly remember me from, I was 5 years at the Maxim Hotel, and that was I did the first one-man magic show in town, and it was a lot of fun. It was hard work. It was 2 hours a day with about 45 minutes in between to reset, 6 days a week, 48 weeks a year. So when I started, all kinds of people were filling in for me. John Thompson filled in for me, which was great. And I heard him talking about it once. And he was saying, oh, it was the hardest work I've ever done. It was so difficult. So little time to prepare the show in the middle. And Pam just looked and said, John, You didn't do any preparation. You went to the parking lot and smoked pot between the shows. He said, yes, but I couldn't enjoy it. It was hard work knowing I had to work that. A bunch of people, it was Malcolm filled in, Paul Kozak, and eventually Matt King came along, and Matt was perfect. So for the last few years, or the 4 weeks I took off, he filled in, and then when the hotel closed, I was ready to leave, and he went on with the same show and took it over. It became the Matt King show, and the rest is history. He's now been at Harris for what, 45, 50 years, something like that. I'm sure it seems that.
Yeah. And how many Fig Newtons is that?
That's a lot of Fig Newtons.
That's a lot of Fig Newtons.
No question. When I go there in the dressing room, they've got about 30 Matt King suits hanging up there, just slightly different variations. And then there's a big box, Mac shoes, and there's all these shoes. And I thought I should sell them. I thought I'd put them out on eBay, just to take a few out and throw a Fig Newton in the pocket. And it would have been a retirement policy, but I haven't.
I thought you were setting up that he had 30 of them that were all pre-stuffed, so that he only had to do it once a month.
That's a nice one. I like that.
That's something to think about. That's so. Do you think unfunny people can pick up the trait that you have? Like, can unfunny people learn to be funny?
Well, they can learn to be funnier. There are some things you follow. I think you have to naturally have a bit of a sense of humor and to be funny. If you weren't the class clown, you should at least have written for him, something along those lines. But, the nice part with Comedy Magic is we get cut a lot of leeway because people don't really expect a magician to be funny at all. So therefore, if a comedy magician says something and it's even partway funny, they really like it. Now, back in the 80s, I did 11 years, I headlined in the comedy circuit, the comedy clubs, back when there was a circuit. And that was an interesting one because all the magicians were the middle act. But if you wanted to make enough money to actually live on, you had to headline. And if you did that, you had to be funny in comedians' terms as well. So in those days, I think almost all of us, just Michael Finney and Kozak, John Ferrantino, we all learned to do a really solid comedy monologue up front. And I guess Amazing Jonathan didn't. He didn't need to because he was a law unto himself at all points in that. And Kozak really came out and did that incredible, the fire stuff up front. But most of the rest of us figured, well, if we're not going to be given a hard time, we better learn to string a few jokes together. And that's what we did.
That is, well, and that's good advice nowadays. Start with the most interesting point, that's for sure. Get the hook right off the bat. Well, let's not bury the lead here, too. You have a whole career in illusions before this as well. We dug up a video we wanted to share, and this has got a little story, I hope, behind it. Let's show this video.
Sales meetings in Hawaii to the Electronica Festival in Munich. He delights clients with the way he incorporates their product into his performances. Watch this live footage as Nick produces a 38-foot diesel truck at a sales meeting in Colorado Springs. Even company presidents and CEOs can get into the act when Nick customizes illusions and routines just for them.
That purple smoke is the best thing ever.
That was so cool.
It inspired Prince. That was the original purple smoke. That was quite an illusion. And in fact, it was, I remember it exactly when it was, though not exactly the year, because that was exactly when my eldest daughter was born. And I didn't know it, but my wife, it was a lot of work putting that together. Franz Harari was our technical advisor, and he hired all those incendiary devices and smoke and enough to take over a third world nation, and sent them in. And we arrived there, and every 10 minutes, the insurance company was saying, well, we didn't know there was going to be all this stuff involved. We've got to up the insurance. I'm going, well, okay, I'm busy. And you know what it's like. And eventually the insurance guy said, well, I know it's tough, what with your wife giving birth and everything. I said, no, she's not giving birth. I said, she's pregnant, yes. And he said, oh, you don't know? And I said, what do you mean I don't know? And he said, oh. I said, you're telling me my wife is giving birth? I said, get off the phone. I'm not paying any more insurance. And I did, and I discovered that my wife had got into labor driving me to the airport to fly off and do that gig. So I was a little distracted on that one, as you can imagine. I knew all this was going on. Wow. And I was dealing with a young, enthusiastic, and incredibly ambitious Franz Harari, which aged me about 20 years. It aged me more than having kids, honest. And,
well, it was worth it for that purple smoke. That was really awesome.
It was.
Let's bring back another trivia question. I think it's time to break into trivia. Let's do this. Here we go. Nick Lewin's hands were filmed for what celebrity? Ooh. Is it Elton John, Clint Eastwood, Burt Reynolds, or Kenny Rogers? Make sure to log on your phone. Wake your phone up. You might need to wake it up. We'll keep that on the screen for a little bit longer. Wake up your phone. Check out to see this one. Here it is. Nick Lewin's hands were filmed for what celebrity? What do you think it is? Lock it in. Lock in your vote. All right.
I call a friend.
I think what? Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, here, let's go to the answer. The answer is Kenny Rogers.
Really? That's so...
When The Gambler came out, I was a technical advisor on that, and they said, well, Kenny's never handled a deck of cards in his life before. No, he knows nothing about cards. I said, really? But we want to look like he's been a gambler for all his life. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I went in and I said, well, Kenny, I hear you can't handle a deck of cards. And he said, oh, and he took the deck of cards and he shuffled them in the air, sprung them, all this kind of stuff. And I just looked at him. I said, oh, you've handled the deck of cards. He said, oh, yeah, I've played poker backstage since I was 15. I said, okay, Kenny, would you do me a favor? Don't tell them that you already knew that, because they think that you're a Sunday school teacher and you've never handled the deck of the devil's tablets. So will you tell them I taught you that? And he said, of course I will. He was just one of the sweet guys, and he did. They all they couldn't believe I taught him all this stuff. So it's very good.
And you got a credit line. That's great.
I did. I got a part in it too, and on screen. So in those days, if you were a technical advisor, and I also did all the magic with Sid Caesar in Amazing Stories, and I worked with David Carradine doing that sort of stuff. And if you got a part in it, then they did your entire fee, the entire advisory fee, also came up as a residual making thing. So I still get money from all those shows. It's not much anymore. But it's not, if you just did an advisory, you got one check and that was it.
Wow. What is the Kung Fu Legend Continues connection? Tell us a little story there.
Well, I had still have a very good friend, Michael Sloan. His first ever network show was, if you remember, in Colombo, they had Bob Cassidy as a magician, the great Santini, and it was a great murder mystery. That was his first ever script. And we were very, very good friends. And he wrote an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents for me, which was really fun. And he also did
about that next.
Oh, then I won't say too much. It may be a question. And also he did Kung Fu the Legend Continues. And I got to work and got to know David Carradine, who was a certifiable maniac. He was an absolute a pyromaniac. And so I kept giving him things. He used to like flash paper, like a whole sheet, and light a cigarette. And you could actually smell like barbecue. He'd roast his fingers, and he'd drunk so much alcohol over the years, he didn't notice. His fingers were actually like melting. But I introduced him to flash wool. And I said, well, have you ever seen flash wool, David? No. slap. I said, oh, this is good. And so this is how I kept him kind of quiet on the set. So he loved this. And then when that kind of wore down a couple of days later, I introduced him to flash thread. And then I said, but if you put that there, it'll burn up to there, to the cotton wool. And I said, then it's like a fuse. He said, no, it is a fuse. He was an amazing, and we grew very, very close, and he was quite an amazing human being.
Oh, that's a great story. I definitely grew up on Kung Fu Legend Continues. I did not get to see too much of Alfred Hitchcock, though. However,
this was the remake. This wasn't the original.
That's true. That's true. And we've got a trivia question for this. Here, let's bring it up. So Nick Lewin played Jack Barton in an Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode titled, is it A, Houdini on Channel 4, B, Spirit World, It's Houdini Calling, C, Houdini's Closet, or D, Beyond Houdini's Grave?
Whoa.
I want to see all of these.
Lock in your guess on the screen in front of you. Lock it in now. We're going to go right to the answer. Here it is. The answer A, Houdini on Channel 4. That is a great title.
It was a great episode, and it's up there on YouTube somewhere. And that was when I was very skinny and I had a big mustache. And one of my great compliments is that somebody in the comments on YouTube said, yeah, the guy in the lead looks like the sex pest in a German porno movie. I went, whoa, okay. People are pretty nasty on YouTube, but I like that one. It was a great episode. We had footage that had never been seen at that point of Houdini from the Manny Weltman collection. And I'm playing magician, and my niece gets kidnapped, and I have a Houdini seance room, hence the Houdini on Channel 4. And everything in it belonged to Houdini. We actually used everything in the seance room, and then we got it from the Ab Dixon collection. So an incredible amount of work went into it, and I'm very proud of that.
It was a fun episode. So thank you for sending it to me in advance, by the way. And everybody, make sure you go track it down on YouTube. It is, it is the opening to with the levitation. Super fun. It's just really, really great.
Very proud of it.
Nick, this has been a super. We've got one more trivia question, though. We've got one more trivia question we've got to get to before we let you go. Oh, no, that was it. That was it. No, that was it. My apologies. We didn't even get to find out the pizza. So now did we find out your pizza?
You did.
This is the top of the show for me. I haven't even eaten yet. My apologies. Nick Lewin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. You're doing a great job. It is fun to be a part of this, and it's wonderful at this time with everything going on that people get to enjoy their magic and not smell the garlic on my breath.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's a pleasure to meet you in this weird format live for the first time ever in a weird pizza party. But, it's 2020. Anything can happen, right?
Absolutely.
Sure is. Nick, thank you so much. We're going to play our next guest. Here's a video from the very talented Ray Anderson.
I started with Esther's full time, I guess about 27 years ago, where I was just always there. And as I told you, in 25 years, this is the first time that I've had more than 2 weeks off in a row. Esther's is notorious for always running. So we always take 2 weeks off when South by Southwest, the big music festival happens, because Esther's becomes the giant comedy venue. But, we try to do new stuff too. I just finished a new one that's a collaboration with me and Jim Steinmeier, who helped me design it. And then Bill Smith built it. And we got it in the show for 1 week before our hiatus. And I'm dying, of course, to finish it. And, it needed a little work, but it was looking good. You know how that is.
The illusionist in me is giggling like a 7.
Well, Jim outdid himself on this one. Let me tell you, it's really cute.
That was a great little clip from Ray Anderson. And that was from an interview that we did earlier this week that we were airing on our morning headline show. And I want to give another special thank you to Nick Lewin for joining us on our pizza party. What an incredible time. Oh my gosh, this is so much
fun.
And Ryan, thank you for setting up this stuff as well. We do have another surprise guest interview.
Our next cruise is actually booked in mid-June, so we'll see if it sticks. I don't think it will. I think the summer's going to be gone. I'm already seeing European itineraries completely canceled with certain cruises on Carnival. The Alaska season is already a problem. I think the cruises are going to, when they start sailing again, cut their fleet in half, maybe. Park half of their ships because they're not going to have the demand anyway. Be very limited to what ports they can go to. Probably their private islands, things like that they have control over, and kind of test that out to see what the demand will be. Send smaller ships so they don't have to fill them as much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will happen. And I think that if I'm being optimistic, maybe in the fall, things might start looking a little bit more normal.
This is live, Pizza Live.
This is Pizza Live.
You'll never believe what just happened in the middle of that. We had to like totally rearrange the program because our Zoom meeting cut out. So in that time of playing all those videos, we rearranged. We're connected again. Wasn't Nick Lewin amazing?
Nick Lewin was fantastic. And that was our special guest today, Kyle and Misty. And you recorded that literally like just before we went to air. Just before. And I wanted to cap I'll touch. They had a new puppy as well. It was so adorable. It makes me want a puppy. And I asked them about if the dog was going to be in the show, if they're going to put Zero, or what was the name of it? Anyways, in Zero,
the show. Yeah. It was, yeah, and that's I always wanted to add a dog to the show, but that's a lot of work just for a moment. I wouldn't want them to be in the show like a prop. But like, remember Murray Hatfield? I always thought he did it right, and the dog would walk out on stage. I thought that was perfect. But I wanted to just preface Ray Anderson. Sorry, we wanted to talk between. Ray Anderson has been running down to Esther's Follies in Austin for over 25 years. He's been headlining that, and the show's been over there for over 40. And he said that soundbite. They haven't been 2 weeks with a time off. So just so you know, the cast there is doing an incredible Patreon page, and all of that funds go to the cast. So check that out at estersfollies.com. Really amazing. I can't wait to see the show in person. And it was because of Ray that we got connected with Nick here today. And so thank you for tuning in with us. We've got one more special guest that I want to chat about and bring to your attention. That is, of course, you saw him at the top giving a guess on Nick Lewin's pizza, the one, the only, David Penn. Let's find out what he has on his pizza. What is David Penn's perfect pizza?
I kind of like, my favorite pizza used to be from a restaurant in the UK called Pizza Express, and it was the Four Seasons, and it was kind of like you got a quarter of like a different pizza in each part of the pizza. But by far my favorite part of that pizza, and I always used to order extra, was the bit that had lots of anchovies in it.
Oh, you are an anchovy guy.
I love anchovies.
Oh, don't
And
tell me you're a
walnuts
pineapple guy too.
I do like a bit of pineapple, but not so much on pizza. Pineapple shouldn't be heated up, you know.
No,
come on.
I agree, but I also, I'm not on the anchovy bandwagon. So much fun to find out what everybody wants on their pizza. This one on the anchovies thing, I'm not sure.
Why is everyone against pineapple though? I love pineapple on pizza.
No.
You guys are all missing out on grilling pineapple. I can't believe it. I feel like Greg is a pineapple. I know he's a hot pepper guy, but I feel like Greg Fruin, if he was here, he might be like, pineapple baby.
Pineapple baby. I hope everybody tuned into Greg's special. Super fun. Let's play another clip from David Penn, because he's so poignant, and he's got some really, really clear ideas about not only magic, but what's coming, what's about to come. I think he's spot on a couple things, and this was one really poignant idea I thought was worth sharing. So
Heads up before this airs. I think it's just the audio. So if you do see, I'm trying to remember, this is a live show that we're doing here. I tried to put an image on top. Right. If you see a still frame, don't adjust your internet. That's real. It's the audio, though. It's valuable. It's a great insight from David Penn. And by the way, comments or questions, comment below. Ryan's checking all those comments.
I'm in the comments now.
I think once there's a vaccine, I think no problem. I think everybody's going to be fine. But when you do close-up magic, we all know, we've all been there, and there's the guy that when you walk, well, sometimes it's a woman, but mostly it's a guy that when you walk up to a table, they want to cause you a problem. They want to heckle, and eventually, if you're the winner and you have a bit of banter, but you sound very reasonable and you end up winning, they'll just make a big scene and stand up and go, I'm going to go and get a drink, and walk away from the table because they didn't win their little battle with the magician and they were trying to cause you trouble, and they didn't really want to watch the show because they wanted to be the center of attention. They didn't realize you were there to entertain them, and it wasn't a fight, it wasn't a battle, and they take that very, very badly. That person now is the person that I'm worried about at events, because that person has got some serious ammunition now that if they want to make it difficult for you, whereas it used to be difficult it was difficult for them and you could just be nice and turn the audience against them, they can kind of go, whoa, don't touch that. You don't know if he's washed his hands, and they can make everybody very, very negative. It's only that one person I'm worried about.
That is such good insight. It becomes a weapon for some now.
Yeah. And that's the person that I'm worried about. I think for a while, take a card might have to be think of a card. You might have to be performing watch me magic instead of participation magic, just for a while. I don't think it will take a long time for people to go back to normal. And I'm hoping that when people do go back to normal, they really appreciate that interactivity and what they've actually got. And maybe they'll appreciate it like they never appreciated it before. And that will be a positive thing in the long run. The truth of it is, I don't know. Nobody knows, but a good professional will adapt.
I'm back. We might have an audio issue that we're working on here. We're stepping through it. It's live. It's live. I finally got a chance to bite into my pizza. Just so you know, mine was.
I'm back.
Red onions, tomato, and cheese.
Ooh. I will tell you. I think everyone can hear me now again. My pizza. It was an Italian deli meat pizza. I know one mentioned one of those tonight. They almost Kyle and Misty kind of. They're talking classic Italian. That's not Italian deli meat. This was stinky spicy pizza. Delicious.
Well, have you ever eaten pizza with a fork?
I have never eaten pizza. I've eaten pizza with knife and fork. I have. Yeah, I have.
Sorry about the audio on that last clip. We'll make sure that's available. We won't replay it, so stay with us. But I do want to share with you a fun little clip. This is what. Well, I guess if you ate pizza with a fork, maybe you could give this a try. This is a fun trick from David Penn.
You'd be better off as a juggler.
Sorry about that. Tech glitches, guys. You know, this is live. This is what we're doing tonight. This is how it's going to be. Do you want to go into trivia? Do you want to do trivia? Is that what we have?
Pull up those phones.
Hold on. Let's hope that I can get to the screen and keep it active. Here we go. Wait, don't go to that just yet. Hold on.
Surprise! You're muted. Yeah, thanks.
Go.
Oh, we're all good for trivia?
Yep.
Magic trivia. So pull up your phones. Let's try this. you make sure to wait to go on to wait to proceed, keep going, and then find the next. Name this tenure trick. Is it zero zone? Is it hole through? Is it solid pass through? Or is it zone infinity? Do you know it? Can you name it? The answer. Lock it in. Bum, bum, bum. D. Zone infinity. Did you get it? Did you know the answer? Let's do the next one. Moving on. Next trivia. Who invented the Statue of Liberty vanish? Was it Tony Hassini? Johnny Gahn? Jim Steinmeier? Or David Copperfield? Do you know it? I know this is a little bit more complicated than the answer given, but we do get the general gist. The answer is, of course, C. Jim Steinmeier. Are you following along? Here we go for the next trivia quiz. What is David Blaine's full name? Is it David Blaine Joseph? David Blaine Brown? David Blaine Michaels? Or David Blaine White? Lock in your answer. Do you know it? Here we go. White. As per Wikipedia, David Blaine White. And finally, what was the precursor to Doug Henning's magic show? Was it A. Razzmatazz, B. Spellbound, C. Presto, or D. The Magic Man? Lock it in. Do you know it? Graham, do you know? Here we go. Spellbound. Thank you so much to Peter Menny for helping out with some of the trivia for today. We are curious to know how you did. Leave your responses in the comments. I think we've got full audio back running. We're all good. We're so glad you all joined us. Did we get everything in for today?
I think so, and I think you can hear us both, and I think you can see us both, which is a feat of all feats right now.
No idea what just happened behind the scenes, but we're so glad you joined us.
Thank you for coming in. Are there any questions or comments at all or anything like that? Should we wrap it up?
I think we should. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ryan Joyce.
My name is Gramazing.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow morning for the headlines at 10 a.m. Be sure to tune in.
And don't forget Pizza Party next Thursday. All new special guests, and a big thanks to Nick Lewin for joining us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks so much.